In today's presentation, I'll briefly review how to start with practical law and use the best practices there, how to put everything together with Practical Law Connect, including your research on Westlaw, and then show you how legal AI on Drafting Assistant makes it easier to review agreements. My name is Samuel Burbano, and I'm the Academic Account Manager for Case Western and 9 other law schools between Indy and Pittsburgh. So to start with practical law, we'll begin at lawschool.westlaw.com. Pretty self-explanatory. Up there in the gray bar is our link to Practical Law. If you're looking at this screen, you're on the right track. Practical Law is written by alumni of the world's largest and most prestigious law firms, corporate law departments, and government agencies, whose full-time job it is to come up with these best practices that you can use to jumpstart your research. For right now, we're definitely going to get to those resources by a general language search, even though you could probably guess the right practice area from this list here. We'll run a plain language search for asset acquisition and see what we see in the type ahead box, so we know we're on the right track. So in this plain language list of results, keep in mind you can always filter on the left-hand side, filter by resource type or practice area. Or you could also just click on the first thing there because a practice note overview is definitely the most general piece of content on practical law. But keep in mind, it also has very rich connections to in-depth issues, which we'll see in just a second. What is another way to get to practical law? Well, right now I'm on Westlaw. I'm researching something on Westlaw. It's a CFR section. Keep in mind that under that key cite list, you can see citations to practical law as well. So that way, this can also help jumpstart your research. They say, research this statute, research this regulation. Great. Here are some instructions on how to do the thing. That's a fabulous way to get up to speed very quickly. But anyway, back to the asset acquisitions overview on practical law. Right now, you can see the table of contents along the left-hand side, taking you through step by step of everything you'll need to know. Keep in mind, too, that once you get to number 5 in the rundown, preliminary documents, it explains that you probably want to write something else before writing your asset purchase agreement. It's called a term sheet. And by the way, do you see the links to the practice note for term sheets, for a standard document, for a letter of intent? And by the way, if you click on term sheet because you're not sure what that means, it explains to you that this is just another word for letter of intent or memorandum of understanding. And you can see there what that looks like. Keep in mind that at the bottom of anything on practical law, you're going to see links to other related types of content. Why? Because it's not enough just to be like, here is what a term sheet is. Here's some things that you need to think about. But did you know that there's going to be checklists, there's going to be model documents, there's a whole ton of stuff. So don't just stop at the initial practice note. Check out what's at the bottom of the page to see what the connections are to other types of content. Because if you're not doing it now, you might be doing it later, or maybe you should be doing it now. I don't know. You should probably take a look at it. Also, on that right-hand side, notice the workflow tools that you're accustomed to from Westlaw. I will especially highlight folders. Yep, that's right, folders. This might be a good time to create a new folder for healthcare asset purchase and start parking things in there. But anyway, down there at the bottom of practical law, you're going to see standard documents like this letter of intent for asset acquisitions. So we click over into that, and here we are. One thing that I will highlight for you are all of the drafting notes that are in this document, because it's not enough just to say, here's a form, use the form, fill it out, right? Instead, what you need to be doing is figuring out what the form says and when you should be using it and what all that legalese means, because if you don't understand what that is or how to explain that, you're going to have a bad time. Instead, you're going to see those drafting notes in practical law, again, written by those experts that are taking you through what all the legalese means. What do all of these terms mean? What is the significance of them to my client? How do I understand them so that way I can convey that in a negotiation? Whoa, you'll see all of that stuff. Also keep in mind that you can open the document in Word. That's right, you can open the document in Word by clicking on that over there. And then check that out. Not only a gorgeous, ready to fill out document, which is informed by the drafting notes that you just read, but also check that out along the left-hand side, that beautiful navigation style that takes you through step by step of the agreement as well. Like I said, this is written by experts because how many other documents do you read that look this awesome, right? Some takeaways from practical law. Use practical law. Start with practical law. Either browse to it from the menu or remember to use KeyCite when you're researching that case or statute or regulation on Westlaw. Second takeaway is look at the bottom of the page. Don't just read the thing and then say, oh, okay, that didn't tell me anything. Check the bottom of the page. And lastly, use workflow tools. Those folders, those Word downloads are going to be incredibly helpful to you. Next topic is Practical Law Connect. And from here, you can see how we access it. It's in that upper left-hand dropdown, not Practical Law, but Practical Law Connect. Not every school has access to this. I'm doing this for students at Case Western, so you all definitely do as of 2018. And you'll see here that this is also a browse product. So I'm going to browse to corporate and M&A. I'm going to check that left-hand menu, and hey, there's all this stuff about term sheets and letters of intent. I really like the interface of Practical Law Connect because it takes you through, here are the steps to do the thing, but also here's how it's connected to all of the other things that lawyers do. Hey, if I'm a corporate and M&A lawyer, I might need to know how to do everything on those things. So each of those landing pages has a curated list of resources that can help you out. Here we are on term sheets and letters of intent. And you'll notice along the left-hand side, it's got all sorts of content, not just things from practical law, but also forms on Westlaw, cases, statutes on Westlaw. Now, I admit that term sheets probably don't have as much, state-specific law or federal statutes as something like employment. But if it did, you would see where that is. And of course, just change the jurisdiction in the jurisdictional bar up there in the West search, and you can run a general language search of this awesome curated list of things that you will need to tackle these specific tasks. Pretty general rundown of Practical Law Connect, so please experiment around on there. It's definitely task-based navigation that combines practical law and Westlaw. And if your school doesn't have this and you're just randomly watching these videos because you like to learn, good for you. Check Westlaw for that underlying information. You may have to run some separate searches to find it, but it's definitely out there as well. That's your website, practicallawconnect.thomsonreuters.com. Last thing I want to talk about is proofreading your agreement. And the way you can do that quickly and efficiently is on a website called drafting.westlaw.com. You'll be directed to a sign-in page that looks like this. Just enter in your OnePass username and password, and then upload the Word document that you're working on. Keep in mind that this does not mean upload an OCR PDF that looks like a mess because it's been through the OCR. Upload a clean Word document, please. And you'll be looking at the uploaded version inside Drafting Assistant. So as we're looking through this very short agreement, you can see that there may be some deal breakers in this document. And if you didn't spot those right away, you can actually use deal proof on the left-hand side. Deal proof uses a patented process, check that out on the bottom on Westlaw, to run your document through and identify some drafting errors. I don't know how it works, but I know that it works if you hit Analyze. So let's do that right now. When you do that, you're going to see this list of results along the left-hand side. The flags are not deal breakers, but they are possible deal breakers. Let me give you some examples. Things like defined term discrepancies. Did you mean occucat or occupant? Numeration, right? You agreed to pay more over here, but then when you spelled it out, it was less. Punctuation. I open parens something, but I didn't close it. Open issues, right? You have a line that you didn't fill out, so you should probably do that during the signing ceremony. Let me give you one example of a deal breaker that you can spot with Drafting Assistant Deal Proof. This is definitely a problem, right? You're either promising 150 plus bucks or 1,500 plus bucks, And what's $1,000 between friends, right? So what you'll see here is that drafting assistant deal proof can look through an enormous document like that, so that way you can use your noggin and spend some time analyzing the contract rather than giving every word the eyeball test. Create a report with all the information that drafting assistant has found. And then when you're done, generate the report after looking through the options. 3 general thoughts about artificial intelligence that definitely apply to drafting assistant. Number 1, data quality matters. That clean version of your document from Word is going to go through a whole lot better than that OCR'd PDF that's been through the scanner and copier a bunch of times. Second, AI is not a robot lawyer, right? Just because Mary sells her car to John in this contract and everything looks good on its face, that's not going to be able to tell you, hey, Mary actually doesn't own that car. She doesn't have a clean title. Or maybe Mary's a minor and can't even legally enter into that contract with John. There's still a role for lawyers, and there's still errors that lawyers can spot. They're just different kinds of errors. And that's the purpose of AI, right? Is to free up the lawyer's time to do that type of work and leave the lower value stuff to the computer, like that text number mismatch. Plenty of other things we'd love to teach you, so connect with us on lawschool.westlaw.com or with a reference attorney any hour of the day or night by live chat, telephone, or email. Thanks for watching.